Oh, yes. It is time, as I always say, truth, justice, and the Big Silz way. But we always start the program out with Big Silz on the runway to the start of the National Football League season. Oh, first and foremost, I want to thank my friend Valerie at Cox Communications. She also does a great job in Arizona with Flags for Our Fallen. I implore you guys to go online to ridersusa.net. She's been helping me make sure that what we had the other day with internet connection issues, she's been keeping an eyeball on the show. She watched the show yesterday. Thank you, Valerie, very much. You're probably watching it right now. And we so thank you for keeping an eye on the National Football Show with Big Silz. Making sure that truth, justice, the Big Silz, and the United States of America lives on and goes forward. Hallelujah, baby. Red, white, and blue right here. So we thank you, Valerie. Thank you for making it happen for us and keeping everybody on their toes to make sure the show gets off and running here. I love it. By the way, I'm going to get into, you know, John McMullen. I love him to death. And he does a great job with Xander on Birds 365. So this guy, not John, but this guy, Joe Schoen, the general manager of the New York Giants. This Hard Knocks has been the worst Hard Knocks for an organization I've ever seen. So Brian Dable and him were trying to do everything they can to move up to number 3 so that they could draft, or number 2 they were even trying to get to with Washington, so that they can draft Jaden Daniels. They knew that Washington wasn't going to trade inside the division. They knew it. And so when John says they have heart-to-heart conversations, so how in the world did you think that was going to go over? And you're Daniel Jones, and you're watching these guys talk about your replacement, and you just gave them $150 million, and you're trying to replace him. You've been trying to replace him for a year. That was just innuendo. Now it is actually on video, people saying, hey, I want to get up to get Jaden Daniels. Talented kid out of LSU. Heisman Trophy winner. And Daniel Jones is sitting there. Here's what I do if I'm Daniel Jones. Play the best I can. Get me the fuck out of here. I do not want to play for that guy. That guy does not have my best interest at heart. Get me out of here. You know the one thing that you can say about Howie Roseman, and I still believe this. How many people believe in your heart that Howie Roseman is all in on Jalen Hurts? To what extent? 95%? I don't really think Howie's in on everybody. I don't think he's in on anybody. But I think he's got a high comfort zone with certain people. Like, how about this? You think he's 90% in on Hurts? I can tell you this, the New York Giants are about what? 5% in on Daniel Jones? CJ says 85%. You think Howie's 85%? Xander, behind the scenes here, what do you think Howie is when it comes to Hurts, when it comes to all in? After watching Joe Schoen, man, that guy's got to be 5% in on Daniel Jones. If that, right? If that, he's 5% in. Joe Schoen must be the smallest office for a GM in the NFL. Hey, he looks like he's in Howie Roseman's broom closet. Right? Hey, isn't that right? Hey, Senor, please, guys, also hit the like button. Dude, that's the stupidest idea the New York Giants have ever had. That is having that stuff air out like that where you're undermining the fact of how you handled the Saquon Barkley thing. Now you're talking about how you hate your quarterback. The Giants are publicly telling you they hate their quarterback. They hate him. That's crazy. And you're paying them that kind of money. Hey, I'm going to use an Eazy-E line from Straight Outta Compton. I don't give a shit what you do. You bought it. Right? Hey, I'm going to take a line out of my guy's movie, Straight Outta Compton. Hey, I don't give a shit what you think. You bought it. That's the only way. You're Daniel Jones, man. I don't give a shit what you think. You bought it, dude. Direct deposits every Tuesday. How you doing? Right? That guy Joe Schoen's a tool. I can't believe that's a general. I could do a better job of that. There's no question that guy is not qualified for that job. He's not qualified. Howie Roseman runs circle. What was the name of that fictitious general manager in Jacksonville? The guy from Cleveland, and Kevin Costner played the GM. Who was Tim? What was his name? Who was the kid down in Jacksonville that he got and he traded for so that he could get all his picks back from Seattle? What was the name of that guy, that fictitious Jacksonville general manager? Because that's who Joe Schoen is. I'm going to start calling Joe Schoen that on Twitter. What was that guy's name that he used in that movie, man? This is the guy asking his wife to help him make a draft pick, right? No. This guy, the guy, the wife, David Tepper, was sitting next to Dan Morgan and said, I like this guy over this. This guy. Not Trent Baalke, the fake guy in draft day. Okay? Who's that? Who is that guy? Okay? Who's the guy in Jacksonville in draft day? Name of the Senor draft day. Facts, he even laughed at the owner when he said he wanted to keep Barkley. Did you see what John Mara said? I'm going to have sleepless nights knowing that Saquon Barkley's an Eagle. Jeff Carlson. That's who Joe Schoen. I got to write that down. Jeff Carlson. By the way, Rookies Today report. Jets and Commanders. They report to training camp today. Jeff Carlson. Thank you, Kyle. Jeff Carlson, a.k.a. Joe Schoen, New York Giants. Yeah, I need more. He looks like a fool. He could play in that movie. I can't believe the incompetence in New York. They used to have a guy in there, Jerry Reese, and a guy named George Young. Those guys were great. They both delivered 4 Super Bowls between them. George Young delivered 2, and then Jerry Reese delivered 2. I think Jerry Reese may have delivered 3 appearances because they got beat by the Ravens. I mean, dude, this guy, there's no chance that Giants are going anywhere. Jeff Carlson, Joe Schoen. Nice job on Hard Knocks. That right there is what you put out there why you don't do Hard Knocks. Silz, did you talk to Clint Hurd about drafting Quinyon Mitchell? Haven't got a response yet back. I'll let you know, brother. I promise. I asked that question, though. Who did Vic like more, Quinyon Mitchell or Teron Arnold? So I did. Okay? I got by on my athletic ability, not my reading. No shit, Twiz. When I went to the University of Miami, my degree folded in my wallet. How you doing? Remember Miami education? No, when I went to Miami, bro, My degree folded in my wallet. How you doing? Hey, by the way, Sirianni was asked a question. I was reading an article. Hey, did you concern yourself with being fired at the end of the year? He says this. He kind of brushes it off. Nah, I can't control any of that. Nope. Hey, guess what we've learned? You couldn't control your team, and you can't control what the Eagles are going to do to you. So basically, you have no control of anything, including yourself. That's why Big Dom's on the sideline. You know, he answered it so generically that he thought that I wasn't going to add on to it. You know, I just worried about the guys in the room. Hey, fuck that. Shut up. Don't use emotions on me. Do your job. You know, I was worried about Kelson, Fletcher. What a bunch of bullshit. I was worried about the veteran guys and what they were thinking, how hard it was on them. Hey, fuck that. It's the pro football guy. Grow up. What do you think? You're at Fork Union or wherever the hell you went to school? This ain't fucking Fork Union. I was really concerned about the fellas in the locker room and their feelings. And, you know, I knew that this could potentially be Kelsey's, Fletcher Cox's last year. Hey, fuck you. Do your job. Coach the team. Shut up. That shit is so bad and phony. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that kind of conversation. Yeah, man. You know, the Belichick stuff, I can't concern myself because all I have is the guys in front of me here. And these are my fellas and these are my guys. When I was reading this, I'm like, I almost threw up on it. I'm like, this guy's so full of shit. This is worse. And it's a waste of ink. And there's nothing he says that's truthful or genuine. What a bunch of shit. He's totally a dope. Go plant some flowers, guy. Go do me a favor, plant some pot flowers, because you're going to need a new profession soon. How the F does the University of Mount Union grad get a head coaching job? Hey, man, John Carroll also had some coaches too. John Carroll University Senior had some coaches, and one of them was Don Shula. So, knee pad Sirianni got Howie's face all over him. That's really, hey, Sam, you ain't buying that. Hey, Sam, are you buying this? Hey, so, Nick, did you concern yourself in any way with being replaced at the end of the year, even though you're great record? Nah, fella. I'm pretty good. You know, I was worried about Fletch and else. I was worried about the other guys in the locker room. You know, yeah, man. My heart ached. My heart ached. Fuck you. What kind of leader are you, guy? Some gimpy guy? Jesus, criminy. What do you think you're coaching? Preschoolers? I was really concerned about everybody. Hey, I'm making $10 million, $15 million a year. I'm all right with myself. You go coach your fucking self and get this team right and put it in a good position. Don't worry about my feelings. My feelings have nothing to do with this. Well, you think I love you? I'm here to win and play football and win a Super Bowl. I'm not here to sit around here and kiss your ass and make you feel better about yourself. I could care less about that shit. I think people really have to really look at that and go, what does that have to do when you're making all that money and you're putting $200 million on the side of that football? People's feelings? Who gives a shit about people's feelings? Hey, do you have any kind of concern about Nick's feelings? When you pay $400 a ticket to walk into Lincoln Financial to buy a ticket that's a decent ticket to watch your game, you give a shit how he feels? Do you give a shit how he feels? It's about winning ball games, boy. Come on, boy. Win them games, Nikki. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your record. Nobody cares about your feelings. Do your fucking job. Please hit the like button. I thought it was stupid. It's like the guy talking in New York, Joe Schoen. He's a dope. That's a dope. That's a dopey dude. He's untrustworthy, too. Hey, man, you know what the kind of guy that makes sense? How many people saw Moneyball? And when Billy Beane was trying to teach that young kid that he got from Cleveland, and he was trying to talk to him, Jonah Hill. Remember the kid he was talking to, Jonah Hill? Played that role, that guy that came over from Cleveland. Guy goes like this. I want you to tell me how you would fire somebody. And he goes like this. Well, he goes, well, wait a minute. I just bought a house and my kid's in school. Well, you don't want to take the kids out of school. Billy Beane goes, what are you doing? Just tell the guy, hey, man, we've traded you to the Phillies. Here's Ed Wade. He's a real good guy. They'll take care of you. Travel person's downstairs. Good luck to you. We think you're a good ball player, or we wouldn't have made the trade. See you later. See you later. Worried about Kelsey's feelings and Fletcher's. Fuck that. That's exactly what Billy Beane was talking about. Okay, that's what he was saying. Just tell the guys honestly what you're thinking, and players are going to respect you. That's why when you got a great general manager, he walks into the room, he goes, this day, there's no room for you. It's not that we don't want you. There's just no room. We don't have any room. We've got to keep 6 extra wideouts. Do you know sometimes when players get cut, it comes down to numbers? Like if you're the back end of a roster, like I was, and the guy comes to you like Ron Hughes, and he comes to you and goes, listen, we're keeping 7 linebackers and we're keeping 9 DBs because of nickel. That's what they want to do on that side of the ball, which means we're only keeping 6 D linemen. 6, you usually keep 8. He goes, yeah, no, not this year. Or at least not right now. You're like, fuck. He goes, we don't want you to go anywhere. Go stay around here. We're going to keep you around. And we're like, fuck, man. It comes down to numbers sometimes on how many personnel groupings. Okay? Seriously, sometimes it just comes down to that. Hey, Silz, can you walk us through how you would actually handle yourself through the Eagles front office trying to control everything and Mo Face coach? It's a great question. You know what? To Xander's point, I actually don't think Nick's doing a poor job in navigating through that. I actually don't think he's doing that poor job. You know why? What's the one thing you notice that Sirianni does in every press conference? He brings Howie's name up. Smart. Smart. I would do it too. Hey, man, we have really a lot of great coaches, a lot of great people. The new coaches are fitting in great. We get a lot of input from Howie that's so constructive and helps us so much. He's putting the right players on the field. I think we're going to really go, and we're going to make a great run at it here. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I know this. We're going to make a great run. That's exactly how I would navigate around it. It's totally how I would navigate around it. And if I was also, I'll make this point to you too. 34, if I was Sirianni, I'd get to be really chummy with Vic and with Kellen. Because guess what? I don't want his loyalty to Howie. I want those 2 guys to have more loyalty towards me. And if I can't get all their loyalty, let me get some of it. Because he can't have those guys not worrying about what he thinks. Because then he becomes insignificant and he's an easy fire if they do well or not. You've got to make yourself relevant in this situation. How do you do that? Get control of your coaches. That's how I get this. It sucks because it has nothing to do with football, but that's the political front office that you have. You have a political front office. You don't have a football front office. I didn't realize that until about 2 weeks ago. You don't have a football front office. It's a political front office. Pittsburgh is a football front office. Kansas City is a football front office. The Cowboys are a political front office. The Eagles are a political front office. To some extent, the Miami Dolphins are a political front office. Anytime the owner is involved in decision-making when it comes to hiring of assistants and controls the analytics of your game plan on Sunday, they have complete control of the direction of the team. Nick can't control his players. No way Nick gets any control of Moore and Fangio. I'm not saying control. I'm saying try to get some of their loyalty. Some of their loyalty. He has to. Isn't it funny, though? This so-called great coach that's in Philly, Nick Sirianni, trying to bullshit the fans again and talking to people like you're stupid. How dumb can you get? Yeah, I was really concerned about Fletcher and Jason Kelsey and how they were feeling. Hey, Nick, fuck you. Do your job. Don't worry about that shit. Don't worry about that. This guy's so weak. Yeah, you know the feelings. Feelings? What does feelings have to do with anything? These are professional people making big money with a job to do. Plain and simple. It's not about liking a guy. It's about getting the most out of the guy. That's why Vic Fangio has been around as long as he has. This guy doesn't give. You think he gave a shit what those Dolphin guys thought of him? How about this, Prince? Right? You want to know? Here's a great example of Vic Fangio style. You think those players who bellyached about Vic down there in Miami gave a shit? That you think Vic Fangio gave a shit that those players were saying or thinking whatever they were thinking? Absolutely not. You're going to do it my way or you ain't going to play. Those guys were all belly aching. And by the way, they were much improved till the injury started, and they broke a sack record with him. There's the greatest example of that. You think Vic Fangio gave a shit what Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey were thinking about him? He only gave a shit that they played. And now you got Nick Sirianni up here going, I wonder what Jason Kelsey, is his final game. The players that really felt bad after the Buck game. Shut up, guy. You sound like a worm. I mean, they're right. I'll tell you what, Cal, it's a great one. Nick Sirianni has no spine. This guy has no spine. Philly 500. Mark Holmes at 3:30 Eastern. The legendary Xander Krause will be with us at 4:30 for all of you to take swipes and swings at. The co-host of Birds 365 will be with us at 4:30. We slide them up in the rotation. So Mark Holmes and Philly 500 will go after one another here at 3:30, here on a Hump Day Wednesday, Battle Royale number 6. So, yeah, I thought that was – let me check that off because I'm sick of talking about this guy. Do you know the more he talks, the warmer he looks? Honestly, I know my daughter and my wife love me. Who asked you that question? So he goes like this. Yeah, no, I know the media and everybody and the fans were getting a little bit upset. They went either way. I didn't really care because I could only control one thing. But at the end of the day, I know my kids love me and my wife loves me. Oh, isn't that sweet? Silz, why are you being so heartless on them? Because it's a heartless job. It's a heartless league. That's why. Oh, I see. Ownership and general managers and coaches can talk to players like that. Since when are coaches off limits to their ineptness? You're not off limits. You're soft. This guy graduates Fork Union High School or whatever the college he went to. Or is it Fork Union or Union Fork? The university that he played football at? I'm not goofing. I don't know what is like Fork Union University, right? So this guy's at Fork Union University. Okay, sure. I'm sure he picked up a lot at Fork Union. Yeah, all right. Philly 500. Yes, he'll be with us today at 3:30. I love Philly 500 versus Holmes. It's like, come on, Bruce. That's not a politically correct word. You can't use that word. Hey, Bruce, you had to stop using that word. I think when they changed the name of the Washington Redskins, I think that was around the same time that word in Redskins supposedly were erased from the English language for Americans to use as being politically inappropriate. So I'm not sure, but I think they were in the same year. There was a litany of names that we couldn't use anymore. And I'm sorry. I think now also we have to use short people. We can't use that other word that rhymes with gidget. We're not allowed to use that word because it's inappropriate. So we have to go small people. It's just saying. I know, man. You have to be somewhere because you never know. YouTube might close me down too because of the way Big Silz is. Truth, justice, and the Big Silz way, as we always say. Okay? All right. Let's get into the topics here. I'm going to make a point to you about your boy here, and this is going to end this conversation about when you're talking about what do you think makes a quarterback elite in this league? What makes quarterback elite? Let's see if I can trap you into this. Let's see if I can trap you into this. What do you think makes a quarterback elite? Silz, I still use those words anyway. Oh, Kyle, you're a big, you're a revolutionary. Consistency, smart, absolutely smart. Decision making and reading defense and know what's coming. W when it matters. Reading defenses. Elite head coach, play caller. His haircut, Silz. Maybe. What do you got to say to the GM calling Josh Allen overrated? What GM said that? Then let's take a look at his quarterback. Winning when things aren't going your way. Okay, ability to adjust in games. According to people on here, it's running, not anything. Ooh, Barb goes and gets into the web here. A winning mentality. Josh Allen overrated. Yeah, right. Because he ain't got one. Jalen Hurts is overrated. Getting the job done. Okay. So let's do this. And let me ask a simple question about Jalen Hurts here to you. Does Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite quarterback in the NFL? None of the other guys do. Not even Allen. He throws for 4,600 yards a year. How can you be elite if the Eagles are tempering that? Look at Prince. I don't think. Prince, you think that guy's an elite pocket passer? Never happened. Does Lamar need his legs? Yep. Actually, though, Lamar did lead the NFL in touchdown passes. Silz, I would say as last resort, Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be considered elite? If Jalen Hurts and they continue to take his running away, he's not elite. You all know this. He needs his legs to be elite. That's why he wasn't elite last year. Whether you want to say he was hurt, they didn't coach him to run more, they took the RPOs out, they took the read options out. Would you not say that that was part of it? Even though when you look at those numbers, they're pretty good. But they didn't really run in the second half like that. Those were all first half numbers. That's right, Kyle. Jalen Hurts is average if he doesn't have his wheels. There completely is the difference in the quarterbacks in the NFL that the other guys think more of, is because if Hurts doesn't have both, and more notably his legs, he can't be an elite player. Those guys don't need their wheels. He does. Him and the guy in Baltimore. Right? You're not going to line up Jalen Hurts without running the ball and drop him back 45 times in a game and think you're going to beat Patrick Mahomes, because you're not. Prince, I'm asking you a question. Plain and simple. Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be the elite player in the NFL? Yes or no? Just a question. Does he? Yes or no? And if you say no, Prince thinks that he's in the same category as Justin Herbert from the pocket, that he can throw the ball like that. He can't. He can't read defenses. Great coach Silz said it. How could you be an elite passer when you can't read defenses? Get this. He said no. He doesn't need his wheels. When Greg Cosell and everyone in the league says he can't read defenses, but he said no. It shows you how dumb that is. So a guy who can't read a defense and doesn't need his legs, Jalen Hurts is elite. If I took his legs away, he ran only for like 138 yards this coming season, like everyone else does. He's an elite passer from the pocket. What does a 31st defense have to do with his ability? I'm not talking about that side of the ball. I'm talking about him. His skill set. Does he need his legs? Has nothing to do with the Eagle defense. Has nothing to do with it. And with two number one receivers can't throw 25 touchdowns. I'm just asking a question. I'm going to prove a point. It's not Hurts. Once again, these people just make up excuses for Hurts. It's embarrassing. Daniel, this is why keep an eye on what they're going to teach him and want him to do. Silz, Hurts intangibles make him an elite athlete, but require you run a certain scheme. Mahomes' intangibles make him an elite quarterback that can play in any scheme. It's what makes him a little different. Right. Brady can't play in Jalen Hurts' scheme. I don't think Tom Brady could play in Mahomes' scheme. He couldn't play in that. He has no legs. He can't run. He has no ability to run. If Hurts doesn't have his leg, Tom Brady, get this. Tom Brady is elite based on one thing, his arm. Jalen Hurts is some of you think he's elite based on his legs and his arm. He needs more to have it work for him. And if one of those is hurt, a shoulder, a knee, there's more things that go wrong with dual threat guys. That's why they're not consistent. When you have a pocket passer and he blows his knee out, so what? Tom Brady blew his knee out. He won 4 Super Bowls after that. Nobody cared. Peyton Manning hurt his neck. Won a Super Bowl in Denver. Peyton Manning was never considered anything that could run or an athlete. You take, once again, the legs make him elite. Last year, what turned that tide on him was not the fact that his interceptions, which I do think played some of the naysayers this year, but it was the ability, the way he ran the ball last year, especially in the second half of the year, that turned people like this. That was even in the evaluation on him. He just didn't seem like he ran like he did a year ago. They weren't explosive plays. And without those explosive run plays, Hurts is not elite. He's another guy back there. He's Tyrod Taylor. He's Teddy Bridgewater. He's one of them dudes. But put the wheels back on it. He's special. Put the wheels back on it. He's a special guy. And like I said yesterday, this is not a conversation about a bad football player. This is a conversation more about how they are coaching him. Who cares if he uses his legs? We just want Super Bowls. Well, you're not getting there if you don't have his legs, busy. If they don't run him at least 175 times this year, you're not going anywhere. Get this. You know the number you need to have? You need to have about 180 carries. Let's take a look. Hey, Crowley or Kyle, do me a favor. If I'm not mistaken, I like Kyle. Kyle's a very numbers guy, and I like it. Kyle, do me a favor. I'm doing this off the top of my head right now. Hurts missed 2 games, right? In 22. I think he had 165 carries that season in 22. And if I'm not mistaken, it averaged about 12. It came out to about 12 carries a game. So for those two, 24, 165 and 24. This guy needs about 190 carries this year for you to get back to the Super Bowl. He don't carry the ball 190, you ain't going anywhere. Your success relies in his feet, not his arm. Do you agree with that? Jalen Hurts' success. By the way, when Jalen Hurts was a force running the ball, both guys on the wide, Y and Z, they both got 1,000 yards still. Didn't affect them. But if you don't run the ball 190 times and you don't have him, not Barkley, as one of your more established players in the run game, you're not going anywhere. Tony says 165 carries. Tony, am I right when I say this? He had 100. So I was right. 165 carries. He missed 2 games, which basically comes out to what? Because they didn't really run him in that final last game of the year, which came out to about 12 carries a game, right? About 12. So that's 24. That's actually 189. This guy needs 190 carries a year. He gets 190 carries. If he doesn't get 190 carries, you're not going anywhere. Your Super Bowl relies on his legs, not his arm. That's what makes him elite. His arm doesn't make him elite. The legs do. Because they overcompensate for his inabilities not to be able to read defenses. This is all figured out. This is what coordinators probably figured out at the end of last year. This is where he is. Why Kellen Moore was brought in to expand the passing game. It's totally now made sense. I see why they brought Kellen in. They're not changing Jalen Hurts. But what they are doing is they're going to try to do everything they can to have a better 23 season. Because that is what they're at. They have nothing, they have no plans of doing anything 22. Why would you spend $10 million on a running back then? It all makes sense now. You don't hand the ball off to Jalen Hurts 190 times if you just gave a guy $10 million to run the ball for you, and that's not something that your organization does. Hurts is going to be less of a runner, which makes him even lesser elite. All figured out. You guys think he's going to have a bounce back year? A bounce back year? No. It's going to be a year where his numbers are less. That's why Vegas has him at 3,500 yards, because Barkley's addition. Would they have 3,600 passing yards? That's the lowest he's had since the first year he started in 2021. I thought he was getting better. Even Vegas now, the guys who put the number down and the guys who put the bag of money down are saying he's going to have a year where he's going to throw for 3,600 yards. Why is that? Well, Barkley's in the room. There's going to be more attention to him than is. I don't know why you're paying the quarterback $50 million then. Okay. Jalen needs to study the tablet when he's sitting on the bench waiting to go back instead of staring into space. He just needs to be a better reader of defenses or continue to get better. Okay, I'll take the over. Okay, what, 38? So they tend to disagree. Hurts needs the threat of using his wheels to be successful. They removed the threat in 23. He needs to be magic and distribute the ball, keep the D off balance. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that, Bob. You're not going to give a guy $10 million when the organization really doesn't make any investment. You've had 2 Pro Bowl running backs the last 2 years, and you refuse to pay them. One guy got 7. Get this. Think about it, Bob. The Eagles went like this. They let Miles Sanders go for 7 a year down in Carolina. Now they just let DeAndre Swift go for $8 million in Chicago. Both guys were Pro Bowlers. They had no problems not paying them and moving off them. You turn around now, give Barkley $10 million? They gave Barkley $10 million because they want to take the RPO and the run option away and the read option away. Hey, do I think you're right? I do. I've been saying it. But here, the question today was, does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be an elite ball player? Absolutely. So does Lamar Jackson. Yes, sir. That style is not going to win you Super Bowls, though. We've been talking about this. See, this is why, again, you say, is Kellen Moore the right offensive coordinator? Yet to be determined. Isn't that crazy? How in the world can you say you're going to have a successful season when you don't even know if your fucking coordinators are going to fit? You're not going to know if you have a good football team until the first month of the season. And then you're going to be able to get a little bit whether or not it's fool's gold or not. You're going to have to look through the number and the record like I did last year. I never thought you were a good team. No, I'll take that back. I thought you were a good team. I didn't think you were a Super Bowl team. I never did. I never thought that team was a Super Bowl team. I never thought Jalen would fall off the cliff like he did. And I didn't think that. I thought that defense would get better by week 10. But because the offense sputtered towards the middle of the season, then the changing of the guard at coordinator on defense, everything fell to shit over that. Both sides of the football. You know what they didn't do last year? They didn't give the defense a chance to catch up because they fired a guy after 10-2. You don't know if that defense would have turned it around after the 49er Cowboy games. He had put up good success. You had no idea. Then what happened? They couldn't stop anybody and get off the field on third down. And when the offense went through 3 and outs and poor offensive sequences, field position became a problem, and you were in a fight every game, like Lane Johnson said towards the end of the season. And then by the end of the season, what happened? The whole thing fell to pieces because you couldn't keep playing from behind. And I'll tell you this, to your benefit, think about this for a second. I want to show you something that was pretty damn good a year ago. Okay? 14-3, right? You guys got to a point where you were 10-2. You were 25-5. You had won 25 of 30 ball games. Going to a Super Bowl and coming back the following year is fucking unbelievable. It's so good. You ran out of gas. You just ran out of gas, too. It happens. How many times do we see teams that win Super Bowls the following year, they don't even make the playoffs? They don't even make the play. Hey, and let me ask you something. Why in the world would you fire a coordinator and all of that when you were 25-5? Do you understand you fired your defensive coordinator when you had won 25 of 30 ball games? You think that was a knee-jerk reaction there? 24-5 you were. You were 24-5. And you fired your coordinator. 29 ball games, you win 24 of them. Why? What made you think that was coming off a Super Bowl, you were doing remarkable things back to back. Why would you hurt yourself as an organization and hurt the players like that and self-sabotage? You could say whatever you want about Brian Johnson and Sean Desai a year ago. There was a point where they were 24-5. And you blow them out? $24-5. And what still kills me, you come off a Super Bowl knowing full well you have a very good team coming back, and your first inclination as a front office or head coach, whomever you want to put this on, to hire people with no experience whatsoever. None. How'd you come to that conclusion? You know why? Because one of them was in the organization, and the other one was a disciple of Vic Fangio. You hired Vic Fangio's teacher. Will Vic Fangio get a better result than Desai? Let's see after 12 games this coming season how Vic's defense looks compared to Desai's defense. I'll tell you one thing we've seen. Last year's coordinators couldn't match up to Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. Do you think these coordinators are going to match up to what they did this year, going up to 12 games? Beating all those teams they beat a year ago? You guys are not looking at, it's not the coordinators' problems, it's the quarterback's problems. And the lack of talent on defense that caused those meltdowns, and the front office still, again, being too hands-on and micromanaging. Silz, creative play can help Hurts with rollouts. They can. Misdirection screens, jet sweep, shit like that, right? Max protection. If you have an innovative OC, your thoughts. And look, I think what Xander says about him, I think Xander's right. I think Nick, I think he's you know why he's a talented guy? Because he played the position as well. You know, he's kind of like a young Frank. Okay? He's kind of like a young Frank Reich. Both guys played the position, backups. You know, I think you have a really good eye for the game when you're a backup like that. Silz, do you have anything good to say about this team? Geez, come here every day to negativity. I asked, you think asking a question whether or not that Jalen Hurts needs his legs to be considered an elite quarterback in the NFL is negative, or the truth? So the truth is negative to you. Sorry. Well, dude, you had a negative year last year. If you're not hoisting a Lombardi, you had a decent season. Nothing to write home about, especially when you're spending the money you're spending. I didn't get my return on my investment last year. What are you happy about? He was hired by JAKIB Sports to hate on teams because people who talk shit on the Eagles and the media thinks negativity means more viewers. Hey, fuck that, David. I don't do shit because of that stuff. I do shit for what I say and what I think for 34 years. Are you out of your mind? I don't do that for you, for anyone. My history of me talking about the Hurricanes, talking about the Bucks, this is not a one thing item where I attack the Eagles. I say what I see, whether it's my Hurricanes, the Buccaneers, or any team. I've been fired because, or no, barred from the University of Miami by an old shitty coach, Al Fuckface Golden. Okay? Because I said, he's like, we're building champions here in Miami. I said, you're building champions through where? New Jersey? I don't want New Jersey recruits. I want South Florida kids. Belglades, Overtown, Liberty City. Then you plug in with those kids from PA or Ohio or places like that. You have to win your local recruiting battles. You know why? Because Alabama is. You know, Alabama's last national championship, every kid was from the city of Miami in their secondary. Every kid was from South Florida. And I went into their ass over it. This isn't something that I sit here and do. Well, let me see what Dave thinks. Dave and Cherry Hill. What do you think of the Eagles season this year? You sound like Rob Ellis. Silz. I'm sorry you have idiots in the chat. People can't praise the truth. You don't get the truth like you do here. Love the show. Thank you, Cosmo. Silz, is a pocket Florida Miami Hurricane. We got Warren Sapp out of there. That's kind of Florida State and Gator country, though, but kind of. Silz, Golden didn't bar you. Donna Shalala did. Maybe, okay, that could have been, too, because I hate her, too. I can't stand her hiring Barry Alvarez. What would he possibly know about winning championships? Honest to God. What would he possibly know? Don't give me the National Football Show. This is an Eagles channel. Dave, no, it's not. This is a Dan Sileo channel. This is a Dan Sileo channel. You got the wrong idea, guy. Silz, you can't say Desai was 24-5 as our defensive coordinator. He wasn't even on the staff in 22. Okay, you're right. It was Gannon. So he was 10-2. You're right. Brian Johnson was on the staff. He was the quarterback coach. So he was 24-5. Correct. Thanks. You're right. Desai wasn't. He was in Seattle, I think, with Carroll as special assistant. Okay, I think he was there. Silz, who's your favorite baseball player? Shohei Ohtani. Okay. Danny, some people are dense. It's all you talk about. Yeah, it's all I talk about. We're based in Philly. I talk about other teams. I got the guy from the Cowboys coming on at 3:30. I like the show because the guy running it tells the truth, whether I like it or not. Pro. Dude, Pro, do you know that that's one of the greatest comments that I've gotten my entire broadcasting career? Is that after a while I'm not sitting here trying to make you mad. I'm sitting here trying to just point out why you're not great. Hey, and one thing too, Pro. You know what Eagle fans in here don't get? If you're comfortable with just being good and you want to hear people raving about you just being good and being 1-3 in Super Bowls, maybe my show's not for you. When you're as good as an organization when it comes to certain things, because they do a lot. I would say that the Eagles do probably 7 of the 10 things it's necessary to win a Super Bowl. Whereas a team like Arizona does 1 thing out of 10 to potentially win a Super Bowl. Okay? Hey, this is always my favorite kind of thing here. Look at LJ. Silz, you never won shit in the NFL. I want to show you guys something. One thing you'll always just have to remember, and I say this with great respect to all of you. In 105 years of the National Football League, there has been only 24,000 men that have ever played in the league. Have ever played. And there's only 16,245 of us still alive to this day. You have a better chance of being an astronaut than you do play pro football. You got a better chance at being an astronaut than you do. J.J. Whiteside, yeah. He's one of the 16,245. Yeah. So whatever you think of me, I'm one of those men. Sorry. Oh, that leads me to this one here. Hang on. Oh, so by the way, one thing's for sure. I like this, man. I get what you guys are doing. You guys are mostly like trying to be like people, like trying to take people off the ball. But I'll ask you one last time before we move on to a different topic here. Does Jalen Hurts need his legs to be considered elite? Yes or no? Johnny and drafted. Does he? Silz, this organization does not act to resolve issues. The boardroom boys do not understand how important chemistry is. They overreact to show they know what they are doing and are in control. Yes. Right now, yes, Kyle says. That's a good take, Kyle, because maybe he can develop into that. Yes. If you're talking about just extending plays, yes. If we're talking about running for yardage and touchdowns, no, I'm talking about his entire ball game. I'm talking about his entire ball game. Kush says no, he can be a great pocket passer. Well, let me know when he can read a defense. Hey, I'm hoping he can read a book. Okay? Because he can't read a defense. But he can squat 600 pounds. He can squat 600 pounds. You got to love that. He won't win a Super Bowl if he's running for 700 yards and 12 TDs a year. Well, that's true too. But it's the only way he's going to get back to the game, because he ain't going to get back to the game sitting in the pocket throwing the ball 40 times a game. He's not. He's not that skilled. He's not that skilled as a passer. Everyone now sees it. He can't read defenses. That's okay. This is going to take a couple of years for him to learn how to do it. Get this. You know why Mahomes can cover it? Because Mahomes is gifted as a passer. Jalen's not. Jalen's developed. I never thought Brady. Hey, how many people thought Brady coming out of Michigan was an elite passer? Look at the two things that made Tom Brady great. What were they? He worked on his passing game when it came to arm strength, and he learned how to read. Can I think about what he did? That had nothing to do with athleticism and being these dual threat guys. Like, he had nothing to do with it. He worked on arm strength, throwing routes, pre-snap reads, and reading defenses. That's what made him a 7-time Super Bowl. Wasn't running the football, wasn't being a dual threat guy. It was winning in the pocket. You think a dual threat guy will ever win 7 Super Bowls? Do you? Do you think a dual threat quarterback will ever win 7 Super Bowls? Do you think that style of play will win 7 Super Bowls? Never happened. Busy goes, I think it's possible, when every one of the major guys today are not, except for Lamar. Nobody's winning 4 dual threat. Dude, if a quarterback ever won 4 Super Bowls like Michael Vick, how about this? Let's put this into proper perspective. How many people believe that Michael Vick is better at Jalen Hurts where he is right now in his career? Don't you think Vick was better than him after 4 years in the league? Does anybody in here believe that Jalen Hurts is a better player than Michael Vick was? Games changed. Rules are a little different. Okay. You could throw the ball now. You don't hit the quarterback. Steve Young was not just a guy who moved around a lot. He moved more like Aaron Rodgers. But that guy was a passer that led the NFL in passing percentage every year. Look at how many times Barbie led the NFL in pass completion percentage. Look at his interception to touchdown ratio. How many people believe that Michael Vick was not better than Hurts his first 4 years? Vick in his prime was better than Hurts. I think his prime was early. Well, maybe we don't know. Maybe his prime was in Leavenworth. You know, that could have been part of his prime, was when he was in Leavenworth. He was actually in Leavenworth. That guy's not better than Vick. Vick got where? How far did Vick go? NFC Championship game, or that game where he beat the Packers up there in Lambeau? Something like that. That was Kaepernick up there too. Right? It doesn't matter who's better. I want a winner, and Vick was a loser. Well, let me ask you this here, David. Do you think Jalen Hurts is better than what Cam Newton was early in his career? Cam was an NFL MVP, got a team to a Super Bowl. You think he's better than Cam? He ain't better than Cam. Okay, so 2 guys who had that kind of style of play. One guy got to a Super Bowl, did exact. You think Jalen Hurts is going to have a better career than Cam Newton? Do you? I don't. Hurts is better than Cam. Can you name one wide receiver Cam Newton had? Can you name one? Name me one receiver Cam had. Steve Smith, I think, was there. I thought Steve was there more with Jake Delhomme. Steve Smith's a great player. So he had one. Ted Ginn Jr. blew. So he had one wide receiver and a tight end. Great. He had two. Fantastic. Ted Ginn Jr. Steve Smith and Greg Olsen. Great. Jalen's got Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert, and the best O-line in football. Yay! Who did more with less? Cameron Newton. And he was a horse. I'm telling you, if you see that guy in person, if you see him in person, you're stunned. You're absolutely stunned. If Hurts doesn't make it in Philly, he'll be looking for jobs around the league like Wentz. Vic had a great arm, powerful arm too. Okay, powerful arm. Powerful arm. Okay. Before we get into the second topic here, don't forget, bottom of the hour, Mark Holmes, Dallas Cowboy honk, and Philly 500 are going to join us. I saw this and I wanted to make sure that I wrote this down here. I want to show you something here. And I had to bring this up. So the one thing we'll always get from the National Football League will always be the truth, because why? The Green Bay Packers are a public company, and they'll always have to they'll always have to show the money that they generate, because they're a publicly held stock. They've got to open their books. So the National Football League's Green Bay Packers last year made $654 million. 255 of that money goes towards the salary cap, which means the National Football League has about $400 million. $400 million to put in their pockets. And when you have a league that doesn't give a shit about benefits for players that played in the league for long-term health care, and you just let those people rot like apples in a barrel, and you don't give a fuck about them, don't you people ever in here ever tell me or ever back a league or a team like the Eagles, or think I will, when those greedy son of a bitches don't give a shit about anything but bottom line. They could care fucking less about player wealth, or about their health. They could care about their well-being. They could care about their... When you hear some of the shit that comes out of their holes on Park Avenue, okay? And I'm obligated as an NFLPA member to let you know, don't ever let those son of a bitches get over on you, because they don't have your best interest. Ownership, they're the enemy. Always will be. Yeah, but the owner's really a nice... No, he's not. No, he's not. Oh, they're not. Do you know when you're a Major League Baseball player, the day you step into a Major League Baseball dugout, do you know you get lifetime benefits? Do you know when you step on an NBA court for the very first time, you have long-term health care for the rest of your life? I'm jealous of their unions for sure. Our union are lapdogs for Roger Goodell, especially when you see the kind of money. Just think about that. I mean, in 2 years, Jeffrey Lurie's going to make $1 billion off you. Hey, more power to him. But the people that help make the league, they don't give a shit about. They're hoping all of them die. They still don't believe CTE is caused by hits to the head. Hey, every time you see a number like that, you know what I do? I immediately start laughing at you. When some of you take the side of ownership, when it comes to, well, he really likes that player. They really like him. No, they don't. They don't like anybody. They see value in people. You're an asset. Jason Kelce is an asset, or he wouldn't be in the building. No matter if they liked him or not, it has nothing to do with it. He's an asset. Players and coaches are assets to owners. That's it. Nothing more. Just assets. Yeah, but they really like it. Do they? Really fucking love him. I'm sure they do. Okay. Silz, your union chief signed a contract right before this new TV contract was released. Why in the hell? Yeah, and also this too, Bob. Like Brady said, how come the NFL revenue went up, but when COVID hit, the NFL owners used it as a way to lower the salary cap so that the players didn't get paid? How did COVID only affect the players and not the owners? How did that happen? Brady brought that up. That was Tom Brady bringing that up. Why did the salary cap go down? Revenue didn't. The revenue in the league went up. The owners profited more because you know why? They lost attendance money. Not that that truly matters like it used to. 97.5 voted Kelce as Football Center as the greatest Philadelphia athlete in the last 25 years. Dude, you mean to tell me you think Jason Kelce is a better athlete in the last 25 years than fucking Iverson? Come on. Come on. He's the better he's a better athlete than Iverson in the last 25 years. I saw ESPN's coming out with the top 100 athletes of the 21st century. Roland, Iverson is a generational player. Iverson is a guy that changed the way the league looked. Iverson's story is iconic. He's by far one of the absolutely most important Philadelphia sports figures to ever live. Jason Kelce's fine to put on a list, and it's recent biasy, but he is not in Iverson's league. And I would even make this point to you. One of the most he may be one of the greatest players in Eagle history, and he is. Make no mistake about that. But iconic Philadelphia sports figures, if I had to put in the 21st century, since ESPN's doing that, I'll do it here. In the 21st century, here's who I would put. in Philly's Mount Rushmore? Who would you put in the Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia for the 21st century? I can't wait to see who ESPN. By the way, I'll do it nationally here in a second. I was going to kind of hang on to this until a little bit later. But if you had to put 4 people, no, since 2000, Barb, since 2000, who would you put in there since 2000? Well, you know one of them for me is Iverson. '21st century, Iverson, I think belongs on that list. Chase Utley, Brian Dawkins. Does Bryce Harper belong on that list? Ryan Howard. I think Brian Dawkins belongs on that list. Got 2 more. On last topic, I've yet to see an African-American pocket passer, and you still won't see one because next year's draft, you have Milroe, an RPO guy. One last topic, I have yet to see an African-American pocket passer. I think CJ Stroud is, Disciple. I think he is. I think he's a pocket passer. I think Loves looks like a pocket passer. I would say that he looks like more of a pocket passer. Before I get Mark Holmes in here, because ESPN is doing that list now of the top 100 athletes in the 21st century, I would put Iverson, Dawkins, Harper. Would you put Foles there? Beat Brady? Beat Belichick? One of the most iconic moments in Eagle history. Iverson, Dawkins, Harper. You could put Kelsey there, I guess. Bernard Hopkins, great fighter. One of the greatest middleweights, welterweights in the history of boxing. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. All right. We're expecting our friend also, Philly 500, to join us. That will be at the bottom of the hour here. But Dallas Cowboys are getting ready to report to camp, and I got to throw this right off of Mark here in a second here. But just want you guys to take heed here, seeing how much money the National Football League makes when it comes to how they look at their players. Eric Snow, okay, butts in the seats are not the NFL customers' tickets is a tip, correct? I would say this. Who's the last one we put in there? Iverson, Dawkins, Harper. Would you put Kelsey in there? On your Mount Rushmore? Kelsey or Foles? Probably something like that. Maybe even Andy Reid. All right. Got to tell you here, man. Cowboys getting ready to go to training camp here. And let's bring in our friend Mark Holmes, the